Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Thursday, 30 November 2023. We meet today to talk about Link, Chainlink's crypto. As usual, we will dissect this part into several parts. We're going to talk about the fundamental part where we're going to come back to the importance of Link on Chainlink, what it's for, why it's important, and then we're going to go to the charts to project ourselves short, medium, long term on purchase prices, sale prices. And it starts right away. As a reminder, you always have the possibility of having free access to the educational course, which is a 60-hour training worth €400, which allows you to learn blockchain, crypto, investment, analysis technique, trading, everything to become profitable. Through 130 videos, 400 pages of guides, quizzes to find out where you are in your progress, and all for free. To have access to this lifelong training, simply use the platform of one of our partners. Everything is explained in the comments and descriptions. What is Chainlink? So by default, we could define that Chainlink is an oracle. Certainly it is an oracle, but it's not just that. It's much more than that. So we're just going to explain what an oracle is. The principle is to be able to offer visibility to the blockchain outside of their own blockchain. Let me explain. The principle when I am on a blockchain is that I only have access to the data on my own blockchain. If I need information that is outside of my ecosystem, I can't have it. Whether it is information that is on the internet, whether it is information that is on another blockchain. And this is where I am going to call on an oracle, which allows me to check this information and be able to find out what is happening. So to be more precise, it is exactly smart contracts which manage this entire part. At and behind Chainlink, it is above all a large infrastructure which is flexible and which is above all ultra-secure. If we talk about Chainlink and why Chainlink is the leader at the moment, it's because it's very, very secure and it allows us not to have any gaps. It is very important, particularly when we carry out a check between liquidity pools when we are in decentralized finance, to have a very good oracle to systematically validate prices and not have hacks linked precisely to oracle discrepancies, something that already existed and that we already saw in 2022 and 2023, which I covered in the dailies. So we are still in something that is really very important in the ecosystem. It's a bit like the eyes of blockchains at the moment, and it's not just that. It's much more than that now, because that it is at the limit of an interoperability protocol in which we find ourselves with Chainlink, which is positioned between real-world assets, and therefore everything which is linked to real data. And therefore in the instantaneous world behind, we have Chainlink which interfaces with any blockchain and going the other way. So we're really dealing with transit information, and it's one of the platforms that makes it possible to interface blockchains with the rest of the world. And it's mainly thanks to the CCIP. CCIP is the protocol that was defined by Chainlink and which allows information to be transmitted between the blockchain and the real world. And this is mainly the case here at the level of financial institutions in which we will use the CCIP to interface with different blockchains and financial institutions. Overall, Chainlink is a huge buffer between innovative technology and existing technology. He's a kind of translator. To go further, because here it is cross-chain communication, therefore the CCIP. But we will have many other things. For example, we will have the possibility of managing automation, of managing proofs off reserves. So for exchanges like, for example, ZoomX or Bigot, in which we will have here the possibility of managing functions, therefore of interfacing APIs with smart contracts, for example. So overall, that's all to be able to manage interfacing between technology and GT, of blockchain in the real world. It's really something that is very strong and very essential, and is simply the undisputed leader in this field at the moment. We have a market cap which is a little higher than on this screen, almost double thanks to the acceleration of Link. I think I have it in my controllers. Great. I just forgot to paste it. We have 14 billion market cap, which is just enormous. So you see clearly we have doubled the market cap. And not by the issuance, but by the valuation of the token, because we will see later that we had a big valuation of the Link with a big acceleration in terms of graphics. In the news, we also have the transition of VT2 to the stacking level. They had opened a stacking part to secure the information, and there a priori, they have again opened a new pool of 45 million Link, so we can deposit and receive a return at the Link level, which is relatively low risk. But overall, we are starting to have a return, which is interesting, and clearly they are heading towards I am thinking of an infrastructure that will be focused around the token and around Link, in which we will no longer have Link only as a means of payment and interfacing, but really Link as a means of securing through the Chainlink infrastructure. And this is something that is currently being done and which is likely to happen, I think, in the course of 2024, 2025. We have to be a little patient, I think. And that's also why, at the price level, as we will see in the technical part, we had something that was quite tidy, which was waiting for additional values from Chainlink, and in particular from the place of Link in the Chainlink ecosystem. Precisely in this purely technical part, we will see that we have this first phase of very important acceleration, period of ranging, bearish breakout with here, classic, it is the COVID, and then bullish acceleration, start and GT, from the bull run, with the advent of decentralized finance, retracement, real advent of decentralized finance, and second acceleration with May, then we retraced. What is interesting is that Chainlink was valued ahead of the rest, which means that we were really ahead because the protocols were working on it. So that means that behind it there was a need to have a link to be able to work. And there we have precisely this vision with an acceleration which was carried out in August 2020, while the price of BTC and other items linked to centralized finance arrived really at the end of 2020 or even after. And that is very important, and we are going to discuss it with what is happening there. So for me, we really have this acceleration phase, which is in the early stages because people are in the process of developing, need links to be able to put available their platform, and then we have precisely the use with the pure valorization and the entry of new players who develop on decentralized finance and the use of link and second acceleration for really the advent of decentralized finance. And then we had massive profit taking, and then we had on the second phase of bull run, well, just a classic retest. Okay, we didn't do any new ATH because we had already had a valuation which was enormous. And once again, Link actually still has a life that is upstream of the cycles. And that is important to note, and which is at the same time logical, because it is simply linked to the typology of what Chainlink is and the use of Link in relation to the whole blockchain ecosystem. It is at the moment when it is built, it is at the moment when it begins to be used, that we have a valuation in terms of links. And it's not really speculative, we're really in something that is utilitarian. And that's why when it expands, well, quite simply, we see an increase in the link. And we will discuss it in this part. Technically, we are in a wick-off distribution in BC, Arkansas, ST, SAO, okay, rather classic, in which what we expect is a UT, UTAD, therefore 2 new ATHs. So in this sign of weakness, we had the range period, which was very, very long. We see that we left attention 532 days of range, so he did not experience the bear market. He experienced a bear market, but flat there, it was not going downhill. It was really flat since we broke everything Terra Luna way we were in and GT. Something which was really flat and which was already a very good sign of agreement. We had a market which is in the process of collapsing Link. It did not collapse and was holding up for the most part. And we also see clearly that, for example, we had the SEC. Okay, we made a low on the SEC, but then we went back up very, very quickly just 2 weeks later, and then we consolidated above with a classic retest here. So really we have touched the imbalance of this area. We went to retouch this and GT. Order block, and then we left. With an acceleration phase and above all a big candle in 16 October 2023, which broke this range and therefore behind a big acceleration, we went to retitrate, well not yet, the $18 which is the next big interesting zone. There we made a retracement here which is rather classic and normal to take profits after such a strong acceleration. As a reminder, from the lowest to the highest we are already on 240. So people took their profits, which is all indeed and GT. Normal. What can we expect? For me, we made a new foray into the spot zone. I think we can retrace and rework the top of the range a little, especially if we have a market that retraces a little and breathes. Otherwise, we'll go all out. Simply structure here something which will be rather classic. So a breath. And then we will tackle the liquidity at 18. I think we will have a rework at the level of 18 before being able to have a new acceleration and GT. Because there we still have almost nothing and we have a lot of market imbalances, so that means that we would go and get the 28 quite quickly. That's at the level of the targets that I could have. Is it interesting to be exposed to Link? I would like to offer you a new vision which would be precisely in anticipation of the cycles. And for that we are going to activate the BTC, in which we can clearly see that we still in fact have a Link, which is in anticipation of the bull run in which we have a real and got valuation before. And generally it still happens with a temporality which is relatively shifted. Okay, acceleration with a small acceleration and the small break. Okay, and then we have the big acceleration with here a breathing of Link. Wouldn't we be in the same process with an acceleration upstream? So there we would be here in this part, okay? Then we would have a breath from Link, and then the big acceleration which would go with the bull run, and therefore a big valuation. Is it interesting to get into this idea? At this point, I would be inclined to say yes. One could argue that Link might be interesting enough to know that we are at 14 billion market cap. For an actor who is a technical foundation and who is the leader in the field, in a market cap which is already, therefore, diluted, I always speak in diluted market cap, at 14 billion, okay. If we ever arrive in a relatively strong bull run, it would not be totally aberrant to see a Link arrive at targets which would be much higher. Like, for example, if Big Wave 1, Big Wave 2, Big Wave 3, and have a Link in the around $90. 90 means that we would make an X8 compared to the current diluted cap brand. Once again, we are talking about a diluted cap mark. If you want the normal cap mark, you just have to divide it by 2 because we are and GT. A little more than 50 of token Link issuance, so we are in this idea there. Above all, imagine if we are in a process where we are going to have our own blockchain, which will in fact emit a link which will secure all the protocols and interconnections and interchain messages. And therefore at this moment we will truly have a real protocol which is already instantiated on all blockchains, on all other decentralized finance protocols as an interoperability protocol. And there we will have a real value for the link. There, once again, we are on pure speculation. We are on my vision of the link in relation to that. The different elements which are starting to move forward, what they are doing, the different information that we on the different commits. In fact, all this information directs us more or less towards that, and therefore we can have a hyper-valuation in effect chain link. It's true that there, we are already a little bit valued compared to people who bought them around 5. Nevertheless, we still remain in a chain link which is interesting. If we ever have a retracement, it will be interesting either to expose ourselves or to strengthen our position, at least personally. This is what I will tend to do when we arrive at rather simple retest zones, and I will simply accompany Chainlink in the next bull run because I sincerely think that it is a very good way of anticipating the bull run. I hope that in any case you liked this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy. It supports the channel. And we'll meet in any case at 7 tomorrow morning for the daily to come back to the news on BTC, and I think we'll talk about pre-Yule run indicators. It's 7 tomorrow.